Okay, this is day 2 of preparing you for your big quarterfinal test. And there's a lot of topics to cover. I covered a bunch yesterday. One of the ones we didn't get to yesterday, and actually there's a bunch of stuff we didn't get to yesterday, one of those topics is a chart like this and finding f of x using a chart. As opposed to, this would be like a function where they give you a function, and if I say figure out f of 2, you just stick the 2 into the function, right? Well, I can't just stick 2 into the chart. But how do you find f of 2? This is a review question, so I'm not going to teach you right now. I'm going to have you try it, and I'll tell you if you did it right. I'll pause for a sec while you think. What would f of 2 be? Do you get that I was in the f function and using x is 2 as this column? And where do they overlap? 4. The answer is 4. But do you get that that can make a point that 2, 4 goes together? I can put them in that format, x, y. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So if I asked you for something where I just told you the y and I didn't tell you the x, it would look something like this. F of x is 7. Well, then I already told you the y, so what do I want to know? The x. Don't say it. Don't say it. Figure it out. Write it down. And this time, I want you to compare with the kid sitting next to you. I'll pair you with somebody here in just a moment. Okay. Hopefully you said that if you think about this way, f of x function is here. The y is the f of x is 7 is that. And the only thing that's weird is it doesn't have like a logical way to lead you to the x column, but we need to know x, so we go up here and see what x goes with it, and the answer was 5. If you said f of 5 equals 7, that was an okay way to answer that question, or just saying x equals 5 would have been a good way to write the answer. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, good. Now let's get into the serious stuff. Okay, that's the baby stuff. That was like the R2, super easy, better know how to do that. But how about this? What if f of 2x minus 3 is equal, no, I'm going to make this an m. 2m minus 3 is equal to 4. Whoa. I want you to think for a moment. I did not tell you x, did I? And therefore, you have to figure out what I did tell you. Try to make an equation out of it. Think of this as a challenge. I think with enough time, all of you could figure out this. It's just a simple little equation when you're all done. But I'm guessing only 3 people will figure it out. I'll give you a hint. You should write f of something equals 4, and that you can find on the chart. And once you know that, you are really close. Raise your hand if you think you have a shot at this. You got it, huh? All right. I like the confidence. Like 6 people think they got it. All right. Okay, let's try this. When I was telling you this was really important, here's what you should be thinking. Okay, well, you're telling me the y part of it, not the x part. So if it's the f function, I don't even have to look at this. It's not a g, so that's out. So that narrows my chart down. Now, of the f's, f of what gives me 4? F of what gives me 4? F of 2 gives me 4. There, now that's a fact. Now, do you remember how if this is equal to this, and that's equal to that, then this must be equal to that? 2m minus 3 has to equal 2. And I add 3 to both sides. 2m equals 5, and the answer is 5 over 2, or 2.5. 2.5 or 5 halves. Raise your hand if you actually had it right. Ooh, quite a few of you. I did give a hint, so that probably threw off my how many people were going to get it right thing, but nice job. There was still 40% of the class did not get it, so I'm going to give you one more like that, see if you can, and those of you that are good at it, think of it as a speed thing. Think of it as a speed trial. See how fast you can figure this one out. Raise your hand when you've got it. G of What do you think it is? He's right. Now don't just quit. See if you can come up with the same thing as he does. He said. There were 3 other hands that got close to you, but you were first. Nice job. Your first thing you should be figuring, for those that didn't get it the first time, G of something is 6. And you look on the chart and you find G of what would be 6. All right. G of 5 would be 6. That's got to be 5. And then you say 5x plus 2 equals 5. Then you subtract 2 from both sides. 5x equals 3. Then you go x equals 3/5. Raise your hand if you got that one right. Awesome. Okay, that's about as tough as they get when it comes to charts. Now let's talk about, do you remember when we would give you a equation? It was all like flipped and moved and stuff, and you had to give an equation for it. This is one of the tougher ones. See if you can handle telling me, assume that's an absolute value. I know I have not drawn it perfectly, but it's an upside down absolute value. It's been flipped and it's been moved. Let's say it's been moved there, and I'll tell you where it's been moved to. -5, 4. Then what's the equation for that? And that starts with a y equals. Granted, I believe you've got it, but just hold that thought a second. Let people write it down. Pause for a second while I give that a shot. You should have by now had this equation. Y equals an upside down absolute value as a negative absolute value. How many of you had the negative on yours? Excellent. And then it's moved to the left 5, x plus 5, and then it is moved up 4 plus 4. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, good. Now, how would you know if this had been stretched? Well, imagine for a moment that I gave you this point right here. Actually, let's move it down a little bit. Do you get that normal is to move over 1 and down 1? Over 1, down 1. Okay? Well, if it's the kind that's stretched, we'll have to give you points so that you can figure out how much it actually did go down. What if this one went over 1 and down 2? Over 1 and down 2 instead of going down 1. Vertical stretch 2, like that. There you go. Good. Okay. So let's do one like that, except let's talk domain and range. Okay, that thing. It's domain and it's range. If I say this is at the point over 1 and up 2, 1 comma 2, then if it stops here, because square roots don't keep going down, they only go one direction like that, then what's that guy's domain and range? Please write them both down, D and R, and then compare with the kid I paired you with for today. Domain, range. It's really important to get these straight. This was actually a pretty easy one, but in a minute I'm going to give you a challenging one. I'll pause for a second. Let me try that on. All right, so it is from there to, well, think of it this way. From there to there, that's the domain. And so that's from 1 to infinity. Can it touch 1? Yes, because it's at 1. There we go. And the other way, the range goes this way. How low does it go? Well, the lowest it goes is 2. And the highest it would go is it would keep going up forever. Infinity. Bracket on the 2, parenthesis there. Raise your hand if you had that right. Okay, good. Now let's do the hard kind. How about if it was like that, a square root that's been flipped that way, and it's at over 2 and down 1, so it's going to be at 2 comma -1 right there. What is the domain and range of that? A lot of people mess this one up, so be careful. Okay, let's see if you did it right. Domain, is this way to this way. How far does it go to the left? 2. To how far does it go to the right? Infinity. Bracket. Range is how low to how high. Here's what I get a lot. Again, I'll see 2. Should 2 be in the answer at all? No. It's the y. It's how high it got. How high did it get? That's how high it got, -1. And then here's the answer I get all the time. -1 to -infinity. What is wrong with that picture? It's flipped, yes. So you got to reverse them because the smaller one has to be first. It's how low to how high. -infinity, oops, -infinity to -1. Who had that exactly right? Awesome. Okay, good. Now, let's talk about, what if I don't give you a picture? What if I just say this? What's its domain and range? Harder without a picture, isn't it? But can't you just kind of like a picture of it in your head and then figure out its domain and range? Now, a lot of people did this on our last test, and they made the picture in their head wrong. I could tell because they like sketched it on the paper. Actually draw it. If you have to, make an XY chart. You can know for sure where this puppy is. Now, I made this one pretty easy. It's just a parabola except shifted up 3. So there you go. Once you have the picture, it's easy. Now domains, -infinity, +infinity. Range, 3 to infinity. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, good. So make a picture when they give you one of these. So what if it was like this? Negative absolute value of x plus 3. Well, make a little sketch for yourself and then answer the domain range question. Try it. I'm telling you, you're visual people. If you just try to think about what the answer should be, you are very likely to mess it up. If you make yourself a little picture and go from that, it's a huge, huge improvement. On the ACT test, you're going to have the same challenge. A lot of the ACT ones come with a picture, and you can figure out the answer from the picture. You're much better at that than reading all those words. You might be able to read the words, but to actually put them all together and understand them, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You've heard that before, right? So if you ever are doing an ACT question, always try to get the answer from the picture they give you. Or if they don't have a picture, make a picture. So in this case, you make a picture. Hopefully you made it right. Should have been a V shape that was flipped upside down because of this thing right here, and then moved up 3. Did you have it something looking like that? Good. Then you should have said the domain was -infinity to +infinity because it goes forever this way and forever that way. And the range was from how low, -infinity, to how high? 3. -infinity to 3. All right. Now, that's all I have to go over for today. There's a few more things to go over for tomorrow, but the last thing is I want to talk about last night. You had a Schoology quiz for homework, remember? Schoology actually doesn't know if you turned it in on time until midnight. So you teachers can set it by the hour, but I'm not willing to go through each hour and reset it. So if you were a lazy slacker and didn't do the Schoology quiz last night, you could still get it done by midnight, and I wouldn't even know it was late. Okay, so get it done. But for tomorrow, I know some of you like that and some of you didn't. I'm curious, if I'm going to assign homework for tonight, how many of you would prefer a normal worksheet versus a Schoology quiz like we did last night? So what I'm asking, let me clarify this. How many of you like the Schoology quiz and would like to do one of those again? I'm just be honest. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many prefer a regular worksheet? All right. So for tonight, I'm giving you the choice. There's 2 things there. I'll show you. Now you're going to either do the Schoology quiz, which was not as popular, but there were some people that liked that way better. Cool. You can do the Schoology quiz. If you'd rather, you can do the worksheet, and there is more problems on the worksheet. I want to make it fair. I'm going to have you do the worksheet, the even letters. Same deal as before. You don't get to just skip problem 1 and 3. You got to do all the problems, but only the even parts, because every problem has like A, B, C, D, E. Okay, so do even letters. What does that mean again? That means like B and D and F. Okay? So, which are you going to pick? Well, you get to decide that. Let me show you again what the choice is. We're in our higher algebra, honors higher algebra folder. We're in here in semester 1. And then don't forget, right now, you got to scroll down to the thing called Quarter 1 Final Review right here. Okay, and inside the Quarter 1 Final Review, we have a whole bunch of options. We already did this last night. And now your choice is either this one, Test 2, Translations and Reflections Review Quiz, or you can do this worksheet which has an answer key, that is one of the benefits of having doing it on a worksheet, is you get to look at the answers and see what you're doing right or wrong. And on this, you may just do even letters. So again, problem 1, you're going to have to do parts B, D, F. Problem 2, you'll have to do parts B, D, and F. That's it. Yes?
So after, if we choose to do the worksheet?
Yep. Good question. Because this is a choice of this or that, I'm not going to have you Dropbox them. I'll be doing the correcting by looking at it myself and then putting the scores in manually. So you won't have to Dropbox it. Don't Dropbox these. The Schoology quiz, of course, I know exactly where to look for that because I can see that result. So, all right, so do one or the other tonight, and whichever works better for your learning style. All right, so your job tonight, get your homework done, and if you haven't already, get that other Schoology quiz done because I won't be collecting those scores until tomorrow, and it wouldn't be considered late, even lucky for you, if you got it done later today. Last thought, if you do the Schoology quiz, don't worry, I'm not going to put in your score like that. So if it's out of only 10 questions and you get 2 wrong, that would be actually a B-. That's harsh. I don't put the scores in that way on Schoology quizzes because, again, on a small quiz, it really throws off scores. You only get 2 wrong and you can get a C all of a sudden or a B-, and that's too tough. So I just grade those in a different way based on mostly on completion, or sometimes if it's out of 10, I'll put it in out of 8. So then if you got an 8 out of 10, you're really getting 8 out of 8. So anyway, point is it'll help. Don't worry about doing the Schoology quiz because it'll hurt you. I won't let that hurt you. Okay, that's all I have for the video for today. Hope you're going to do some quality review because this test coming up on Thursday is important. I did get a good question. I'm going to clarify on the video here. You do not have to use this as a retake, but everybody has to take this test. So you're going to take the test either way. It's just a matter of whether or not, when you're done taking the test, the last couple questions are, do you want this to count as a retake? So you should decide ahead of time, going in with a game plan, like, okay, well, I got a D- on this test. I may as well, do the corrections. Hopefully you've done the corrections already, but if not, do them soon. You might want to retake anything that's a D because you're not going to do worse than a D on this test, I hope. So figure that you should replace any really low scores. But I personally, my advice is don't replace B's. That's really a gamble. Unless you have gotten A's on everything else and you get done with it and you know you aced it, okay, fine. If you want to try to replace a B, go ahead. But I've had kids replace all their tests before and have their grade go all the way down to a D- because they rolled the dice and tried to replace everything at this one test, and they thought they did well and they didn't. So that's very dangerous. Okay, that's all advice I have for you for today.